Oh, I'm back for another review. This time I actually picked a good film as opposed to some of the two previous ones, which were questionable at best. I just got done rewatching one of my favorite films ever, Taps. Now, if you haven't seen Taps, it's a pretty damn good film. First of all, without a doubt, we are talking some of the earliest appearances and performances and powerful performances by most of the cast. I mean, there really isn't a bad actor in this, but we're talking about a very young Timothy Hutton, a very young Sean Penn, a very young Tom Cruise. I believe this may have even been Tom Cruise's second movie and his first speaking part, from what I understand. It's them at a very raw, young age. Basically, the story of a military academy these students attend, and George C. Scott is the general at the academy. So again, we're adding to an already excellent cast. We join this as Timothy Hutton is being promoted to the highest ranking cadet that could be in the school, and he has sort of a great admiration for his general. And we also find out just shortly after this, that this is going to be the last year the school will be open. They are closing it to make condominiums. It's being sold off by the Board of Trustees, and they've got like one last year there. Which sounds like it should be a comedy, almost, but it's not. What ends up happening is there's a school dance there. Some of the townies outside the facility are kind of drunk and disorderly dickheads as the cadets are arriving with their dates for this school dance. A fight ensues because the townies are drunk, and the general comes out, and they're in full military gear, like dress gear, and one of the things he had on him was a gun belt, and in it was a loaded pistol. Now, that being said, in the ensuing fight that follows, the general accidentally shoots and kills one of the townie kids. The general is taken away. We also were informed later on that he was having some health issues as well. And it sort of becomes clear that after this incident, they're not going to give the school a year to close down. They're going to address closing it now. So, Timothy Hutton, as the ranking cadet, decides that they should stay and fight for their school that they love and believe in. And his cadets follow suit. So they proceed to hijack the armaments that are there, hijack some food, and fortify their position at the school. As things go along, we eventually get the state police involved, and there's really no match with the state police even involved. And eventually we get the military involved. It's the military, but it's more like the weekend warriors kind of military, more or less. But I mean, the guy in charge is the colonel in charge is clearly a full-time military man himself. And it's the ever excellent Ronny Cox, who has been in just damn near everything you can imagine. But Ronny Cox is in charge of the military portion of this, and it basically becomes a standoff between the cadets and between the regular military. Now, as things progress, there's a series of incidents that happen. Some troops defect from the academy. Some of the cadets defect. At first, it's like one or two. After a while, it becomes like half the force. Things are starting to break down as their water gets cut off, their electric gets cut off. They're starting to inter-argue between them. Sean Penn's character probably isn't as committed to the cause. And Tom Cruise's character may be a little overcommitted to the cause. And Timothy Hutton is wanting to keep the traditions alive, the traditions of the school and honor and fighting for what you believe in, things of those natures. We eventually get to a point where one of the cadets is injured in a fire as they try to start a generator. Another cadet, there's two smaller cadets that have a running story throughout the whole film, and one of them decides he wants to defect, so he jumps over the barricade and starts to run towards them, and he drops his rifle. And his companion cadet who's trying to stop him, when the rifle goes off, the state police and the military start shooting, and they end up killing this little boy, and he dies. And it's a very sad moment. But it's also the moment that Timothy Hutton starts to look at what he's doing and reevaluate where he's going with this, and that they're not going to be able to win. I also kind of left out the part that the general apparently died of a heart attack, and they're informed of this. So clearly, as the film goes along, they become more and more despondent about what they're doing and what's right anymore. While they realize they want this school to stay open, they realize what it means to them, they're starting to realize that perhaps they may not have gone about this the best way. So after the young boy is killed, Hutton and Penn have a nice heart-to-heart talk, and they decide that it's time to end it. So they're proceeding to lay down their weapons and surrender, and finally call this a day. And Sean Penn's character is... I'm sorry, Sean Penn, not Sean Penn. Tom Cruise's character is a little off kilter. He's a little more gung-ho than he should be, realistically. Very bloodthirsty, very angry, and antagonistic character. He proceeds to shoot Ronnie Cox in the shoulder, and then he proceeds to lay down a field of fire with an M60, and all hell breaks loose. So as the soldiers are storming the academy, Hutton and Penn go up to try and stop Tom Cruise, and Hutton dives in just as the room is being barraged with machine gun fire. Sean Penn can't get in because the fire is so heavy. Now, as the film closes, we find out that both Tom Cruise and Timothy Hutton's characters had been killed, and Sean Penn proceeds to carry Timothy Hutton out, and the film ends with a sequence from earlier in the film where they were on the parade grounds all doing their saluting of George C. Scott's character. It's a powerful fucking movie. If you haven't seen it, again, Taps, it's a great film. If you haven't seen it, you probably should see it. Easily one of my favorite films ever. Probably, I can't go into it like a top list of films I have. I have too many that I love. But I do enjoy this film a lot. It's something I saw when I was very young, in the 80s, and I still enjoy it just as much. Watching it now on DVD, it's still as powerful as ever. It's still amazing performances by the entire cast. Excellent story, and yes, I've given you the whole story now, but of course I'm not even close to relaying how amazing the performances were. But it's just a great film all over. I really can't recommend it high enough. If you haven't seen it, I recommend you see it. If you're thinking about buying the DVD, I would recommend buying it. Hell, I have it on DVD, and I'm considering getting it on Blu-ray if it's available. I don't know if it is, but I'll certainly look it up. And the funny thing is my other reviews are quite a bit longer than this, mainly because I had so much to complain about. I really did. And in this film, I have nothing to complain about. Zero complaints at all. It delivers on every level. It is just a fantastic film. An incredible piece of filmmaking, incredible piece of acting, and it shows at an early age what those actors were able to do, what they would be bringing to the table in future projects. And to have had a film where we were lucky enough to have so many powerhouse actors in it, it is just they lucked out with an amazing cast, and they just did an incredible job in what they have. So I have no complaints about Taps at all. Zero complaints. So maybe this one isn't as funny because I'm not ripping into it, and I'm not bringing up any negative points. But I really can't say enough good things about the movie Taps. So there we go. My review of Taps.